you're tuning in, if you're tuning in now or later, just remember to like the video. That's all I ask from you guys. I put a lot of effort into this, and let's win some money. If you guys haven't hit subscribe, do that for me. We just uploaded our most recent video. We're going to be covering that towards the end of this. Guys, it's just going to be me today. Muscle Brown's not with us. He has prior obligations. So what I'm going to do is break the show up in 3 different segments. Liquor. You know what? Give me, guys, I know we should be talking about that. If you don't know what gold member's referencing, wait to the end. Let's get through our picks first. We'll talk about liquor, okay? So I'm breaking it down in the parlays. So the money line picks, just as if you would have watched the videos this week, just the money line. I'm going to then break it into my method of victory prop. And then also I have 3 lock picks that I didn't get to cover, man. There were a lot of fights. There were a lot of fights that I didn't get a chance to cover and diagnose and analyze. So I apologize if you requested one that we just didn't get to it. Okay, so the first fight we're going to get to, we have cards in Florida. We have cards in San Diego. We have a fight in the UK. And then we have a fight in Japan. So I want to cover the first fight. We haven't seen him in a long time. He's been shelved. So in my research with this fight, I reached out to a buddy of mine. A lot of you guys might know on Instagram and Facebook. He goes by Ohio Runs Boxing. Andriel Holmes fights out of Detroit, Michigan. We know about this guy. He's 17-0. He's a sparring partner of Clarissa Shields. Him and Erickson Lubin have fought before in the amateurs. That was a decade ago. In my breakdown, I told you guys, don't look too much into that. And don't get it twisted. This is a huge step up in opposition for Holmes. Even though he's 17-0, this is Erickson Lubin, guys. Lubin only has a few losses. We know the Charlo loss was a bad loss. He built himself back up. And then that brutal fight with Seb Fundora when he got dropped, and then he dropped Fundora, and then the doctors had to stop it because, if you remember, Lubin's face was all over the shop. There's a lot to like about Lubin. So if you would have watched the video breakdown, I told you guys I was taking Lubin. I want to first go over the money line. Now, Lubin, we know he's 26-2 with 18 knockouts. Holmes is undefeated. Like I said, this is a step up for Holmes. If you like Lubin on the money line, he's $1.38, meaning you put $100 on Lubin, you get your money back plus 38. He does have a 70% career knockout to win ratio. So if you want to stay safe and just think that the Hammer is going to get it done and put himself in another world title opportunity, just take the money line. I really like that bet. I'm not going to quite call that a lock, but I think that's pretty close to a lock as a lot of the fights this weekend. Let's get to some of these comments. I feel Lubin's inactivity is on him. The guy he beat, Jesus Ramos, fought 3 times already since that fight. Cigar, I was talking to Ohio Runs Boxing about Lubin's inactivity, and he blames it on the promoter. He said that this is going to be Lubin's 5th or 6th title eliminator fight, which is insane when you think about it, that at 29 years old, considering his amateur background and the hype he had coming into the pros, he hasn't been fighting for more world titles. We know what happened against Charlo. We know what happened against Seb, and we know he's been shelved for 18 months. But Cigar, a lot of people in the know claim that that has been the promoters. They've been shelving him, and we've seen this happen with other guys over the length of their career. So make what you want of that. I'm expecting a prime Erickson Lubin. I expect to see him at his best. He seems like he's only 29. He's actually younger than Holmes. So keep that in mind. Johnny, I found Suarez reach 65, not 74. Like Kirsten, that's an interesting thing, and we're going to get to that. Suarez's real reach is 65, not 74. They say that it's 74 on BoxRec. They say that it's 74 on Wikipedia. And they said it's 74 on Suarez's main page. So I wonder if that's just an AI sort of algorithm that they take from BoxRec. A lot of these other websites will scrape the data and then they just reproduce it. I was finding it hard to believe that a 5'6" fighter has a 74-inch reach, so that's good to know. Will that play into my pick? We're going to cover that fight in a second. Navarrete will be throwing punches. We're going to cover that as well. Kirsten's jumping the gun here. So I like Lubin, money line, $1.35, guys. You don't have to agree with me. That fight is the main event in Kissimmee, Florida. Let's move to San Diego, California now and talk about 2 of those fights that Kirsten already brought up. Yeah, Cigar. Lubin is only in his 20s. It's wild. And I just, one last final thought on Lubin. I just like what I see with his style. He's not going to be a volume guy. He's not going to drown you with his volume. He's looking for his hooks, and he has power in both hands. the sledge. They call his one hook sledge, thus his nickname Hammer. I think he's going to be too much. He's fought tall, rangy guys before. We saw him against Seb Fandora. Even though that Holmes is going to have the height advantage and reach advantage, it shouldn't be an issue. I'm confident in my pick with Lubin. Stay tuned, though, because there's a method of victory pick with Lubin that increases those odds. All right, guys, let's go to San Diego real quick. We'll do the co-main events with Abdullayev and Murataya. We covered this fight on the channel. Let's see where Dan Lubin's in his 20s. I went to a Filipino channel, and they had his real reach. Kirsten Mock, appreciate you. I love the investigation. I'm learning from you guys. My friend had a rule against Pro Box and that he doesn't bet on Pro Box. A lot of upsets or even fights. You know what? The thing about Pro Box, it's good. It's a good point, Cigar, is that they put on a lot of even sort of fights. So from a betting standpoint, a couple weeks ago, we had Muscle Brown here. He was like, he loves betting on Top Rank shows. And we won again on our Top Rank show last weekend. It's because the Top Rank odds, you get 110 versus 630. You add a couple of those together, all of a sudden you're looking at $1.60, and you could get some, pretty safe bets, making a little bit of coin in return. The Pro Box has been kind of creating a name for themselves on matching guys that are kind of similar in their career. Not quite 50-50 fights, but the odds are pretty closer to that than these wide sort of spread odds. Guys, remember, if you're watching this video, like this video. A lot of you guys already subscribe. I appreciate your support here, and let's continue with the show. Just hit that like button, three at the time. We need to get that up. I need to start asking more from you guys. All right, so back to the co-main, Raymond Murataya versus Abdullayev. We know Murataya is 22-0 with 17 knockouts. There's a lot to like about Murataya. When you watch his career, when you watch what he's done, I mean, he has a 78% career knockout to win ratio. Abdullayev is the same guy who got knocked out against Devin Haney. Granted, that was in 2019. That was 6 years ago. Both fighters are different guys. Abdullayev, he's one of and I'm not trying to clown the guy. He's one of probably the slowest fighters I've seen in that division in terms of everything he does. He kind of has this zombie approach to his movement. He's not lazy. Some guys have God-given speed. Some guys are twitchy. Some guys have fast twitch muscles. Abdullayev doesn't have any of that. Currently on the odds, what you're looking at with that fight, that's the co-main event in San Diego. Murataya on the money line is a 120. And, Abdullayev, even though he's 20-1, he got knocked out once against Devin. That was a long time ago. I like Murataya to win that fight. And if you want just the money line, $120, that's pretty decent. I'm very confident with that fight. I know some of you guys in the comments thought that the Russian's going to win that fight. I highly disagree. Wilmer Ramirez, what's up, guys? Thanks for everyone tuning in. We're at San Diego right now. Let's talk about that main event, guys. This main event in San Diego had me torn for a while. This was the first fight. I'm talking about Emmanuel Navarrete versus Charlie Suarez, Mexico versus the Philippines. Had to reach out to a couple of my sources in America, a couple of these guys who live in the gym. One's a fighter, one's a strength and conditioning coach, because a lot of you guys were kind of making me second guess on my pick. Watching a lot of the YouTube analysts, a lot of the content creators are going with their sexy pick and picking Suarez to actually beat Navarrete. The reach aside, even though his reach said 74, when I did my breakdown, I didn't really find that to be any sort of beneficial in my outcome. I'm picking Emmanuel Navarrete to beat Suarez. I think that, 36 years old, Emmanuel Navarrete's only 30. He has a lot of miles on him. I just think, like I talked about in my breakdown with Navarrete, he does everything so unorthodox. He's a guy that, if you're a coach, would drive you insane. He doesn't do anything technically, but all the things he does in an unorthodox way makes him three-weight world champion. You know what I'm saying? He's won titles at 22, 26, and 30. If he didn't lose that split decision to Dennis Baranchik, he'd be a four-weight world champion. And in the video I told you guys about, there's only a handful of four-weight world champions from Mexico and a handful that are only three. So the guy has a lot of skills. And to think that, here's some stats for you. Of the iconic Mexican champions, right? Julio Cesar Chavez, three-weight world champion. Barrera, three-weight world champion. Morales and Arce and Marquez and Canelo and Leo Santa Cruz, four-weight world champion. And Emmanuel Navarrete is right there, and he's only 33-weight world champion. I like his right hand. It's a piston. Like I said, there's nothing he does technically, and I understand why people love the Suarez pick. He's a big underdog, and Navarrete on paper is a plus 122. I think Navarrete swarms him. I think he drowns him. I think he breaks him, and I'm comfortable with that pick. I think it's going to be Viva Mexico, and I think he's going to give Suarez his first loss. You don't have to agree with me. That money line pick is $1.22, and I just think the World Championship experience, that pedigree, lessons. Granted, he got dropped against Liam Wilson, and it was like a 30 count. You could say though that and then he had an up and down his results as of late. That kind of head scratching draw against Cacace, and then he kind of had a flat decision victory, but then he finished that beautiful body rip to Oscar Valdez. So he's kind of been here. Dare to be great at 35 didn't work for him. I think we're going to see the best of him. This is a homecoming for him. He feeds off the crowd. These Mexican fighters, the crowd's going to be insane. You have to play into that consideration as well. So Navarrete at plus 122 on the money line. But stay tuned to the end because I'm going to give you my method of victory bets. And if you like Navarrete like myself, I love Navarrete in this fight, the odds boost up if you take him for a specific way to win. We'll get there in a second. We got to go to the UK now, and we're going to finish in Japan. Then I'll give you my method of victory prop bets. And then on the other side, we're going to talk about liquor, if you guys know what I'm talking about. Guys, like this video, 25 people watching. Let's get those thumbs up. Navarrete over 10.5. Love that pick. How do you feel about the Murvataya fight? King Tile, we already covered that. Navarrete over 10.5. You're expecting it to go to the distance. Okay, not that bad. Navarrete gets away with fighting awkwardly because of his long arms. True story. And he has pop. He has sneaky pop. He throws punches at wrong angles. Call it what you will. He throws punches at wrong angles, and he lands them. So for how unorthodox he looks, he's actually accurate too. When you see him digging that right hand thrown from his ankle, or those uppercuts coming in awkward angles, and the minute you think you have him figured out, you're up against the ropes, and he's ripping a body rip, and he's always in your face. He has a really fun style. And once again, he's one of those guys that I would pick in the overachiever category. You got to think he's been a pro since he was 17 years old. Could you imagine seeing him at 17 years old and asking his coaches, is this kid going to be a world champion, let alone a three-weight world champion? What do you think they would have told you? And this is why his fan base is kind of cult-like, vaquero, people cheer for him. I never miss a Emmanuel Navarrete fight. And Charlie Suarez is a hell of a fighter. Charlie Suarez, it's going to be a challenge. He came down here to Sydney. He fought an undefeated Sydney fighter, and he was losing the whole fight and got Paul Fleming. Paul Fleming, I think at the time, was 24-0, 25-0, Aboriginal Australian, tough as nails, was an Olympian, and he was winning that fight. He was about to put himself in a world title position, and out of nowhere, Suarez drowned him, and Fleming wilted in, I think, the 11th or the 12th, and got the stoppage. So that's all you need to know about this guy, Suarez. He's going to be game. He's going to be up for it. But when you're thinking about standing across the ring from a challenge and a puzzle and a problem like Navarrete, he's never seen that before. And at the highest level, guys, we have to remember, boxing is all about problem solving, split second at the highest level. Which fighter could figure out these sort of problems the quickest and then make their opponent pay? And think about the problems you got to solve with Navarrete. It's a nightmare to face that guy. That's one of the reasons why, the knock on him is his unorthodoxy approach, but the pro side on him is that he's used that for his advantage. All right, off topic, Canelo versus Crawford odds came out on FanDuel, 210. Canelo, we're going to get into that GOAT. We will. Might not get into it today. James Arath, a lot more than just his long arms. Vaquero gets shit done. Basically, mate, I see, right? He just gets shit done. He knows how to win. The guy's record is 39-2 with 32 knockouts. He's a finisher as well. Murvataya under 10.5. I'm leaning that way as well. We'll get to that in a second, Wilmer. Mark Robb, Navarrete seems so basic, but his angles and tempo are complex. He will drown you. That atypical Mexican cardio machine through the roof. He's like when you watch the kid that we just saw with no power at 135. I do all these videos. His name's slipping my mind, and I apologize. But Navarrete is a volume guy with power, and he has sneaky power. Doesn't have one-punch knockout power, but he adds all those elements to his game, and he has a lot of mid to late round stoppages because of that. Navarrete, it wasn't Espinoza's one of my. It wasn't Rafa. It's the guy that's supposed to fight Shakur that I did a feature on, and he's a fun fighter. He's one of Oscar's guys, and he just drowns you. And he's just lacking a little bit of pop on his shots. Zepeda, El Camarón, that's it, my man. But just 1 point Suarez. It has 2-inch reach of Navarrete. Wilmer, do you think Tyson Fury was any good? Margaret Dutton, come on now. Anybody, any champion, any boxer who goes from an amateur to becoming a pro and wins a world title at any weight class, you're good. You know what I mean? This is boxing. You know how hard it is to become a professional fighter, let alone become a world champion, let alone have generational wealth because of these? Come on, dude. You'll never see me hating on a fighter. Of course I think Tyson Fury's good. Get out of here. All right, guys, let's move on. We've hit Florida, Kissimmee. We like Lubin on the month. We like Erickson Lubin. San Diego, we like Maritaya, and we like Navarrete. Let's go to the UK real quick. This was a card with so many good fights on it. The home of Robin Hood, Nottingham, England. And this is Anthony Cacace versus Lethal Lee Wood. I wanted to cover the Davies fight on that card. I wanted to cover the Troy fight on that card. I just didn't have time, guys. You know, I run a gym here in Sydney. Clients come see me. I'm a writer, so I write books and stuff. And this is my passion. And sometimes I just don't have time to cover all the fights. So I only got to the Cacace versus Lee Wood fight. Guys, you have to remember, Cacace got stripped. He was the IBF champ at 30. Because he didn't take his mandatory to fight Sugar Nunez, that's why this fight isn't for the world title. It's for the IBO world title. And Lethal Lee Wood is moving up from 26 to 30. So remember that. Lee Wood has been in some wars. If you would have watched my breakdown of this fight, we would have highlighted that fight with Mick Conlon. A great fight where Lee Wood got dropped, looked like he was out early, and then later on in the fight, Mick Conlon I'm pretty sure Conlon was undefeated at the time, knocks him out cold on the ropes, and Conlon falls through the ring. It went viral. So they call Lee Wood lethal for a reason. My question is, he has a lot of tread on the tires with Cacace, the world champion. This is a guy that became a world champion late. I talked about this in the video in his 30s, and he's just looked good since. We haven't seen Lee Wood in a while, and on the money line, it's $1.57. This was the closest fights of all the main events, guys. $1.57 versus $2.40. A lot of the Brits are obviously taking their boy. There's not a lot to not like about Lee Wood. Lee Wood is one of my favorite British fighters to fight. I just think at this stage of their career, where they are, the miles, the treads, the wars that Lee Wood has been in, the weight class, all in all, and the momentum Cacace has, I think Cacace wins this fight. He's 23-1, doesn't have a lot of pop, but he does have a bit of power. He has enough power to keep his opponents off of him, and that's $1.57. So I like that. And then the last fight we're covering, I uploaded my analysis and prediction just 2 hours ago. Tokyo, Japan. We have a rematch, and you guys know we love rematches on the channel. At 115 pounds, Fernando Martinez versus Kazuto Ioka. This first fight took place last July, excuse me. The rematch was supposed to take place New Year's Eve. Martinez pulls out last second Puma, and then we thought we were going to see Martinez versus Bam Rodriguez. That didn't happen, and here we go again. Martinez is taking the... Hopefully he got paid. You got to think he took a lot of money for this fight. And it's the same reason that Cacace said that he's fighting Lee Wood instead of Sugar Nunez. The money was almost double. I didn't hear if Fernando said the same thing, but this fight's in Tokyo, in Ioka's hometown of Tokyo. And those odds right now, Martinez won the first fight by decision. He's a fun fighter from Argentina if you haven't seen him fight. His style's aggressive. His volume's aggressive. He's a volume puncher. The first fight he won a 12-round unanimous decision. We know Ioka's 36. He retired once already in 2017, came back, became a world champion, multiple weight class world champion. I just think if you watch the first fight in July, this fight's only a year later. I don't see too much that Ioka could do in his game planning that could keep Fernando off of him. And I really like Martinez to win this. That money line is $1.29. Martinez is just too much for Ioka. I agree with you, Kristen. Going the distance, Suarez, footwork, and good boxing IQ. You know, you guys make some valid points. Raw Dog is boots above Bam on your pound-for-pound list. Man, you know, I'm a fan of both guys. Those are two of my favorite fighters, guys. It's tough to rank them. When we get to that top tier pound-for-pound, that's why you don't see a Johnny Says pound-for-pound list. I think it doesn't really do, and then the weight class thing, it really doesn't do the fighters justice when you try to rank them. Cacace by decision or stoppage. I'm getting to that right now, Angelo. Great question. It says Sumi on the undercard. Yes, and Tasumi is one of those guys I didn't get a chance to get to. Erath, I love Mick Conlon, his fight. Oh, God. Mick Conlon, mate. One of my favorite fighters. I told you guys last year when my channel had like 4,000 subs, I told you guys I was doing a live about how British boxing is, the UK boxing is my favorite to watch because you got these guys, they're not runners. They're going to stand and fight you. These are guys that come from a long lineage. It's in their bloodline to bare knuckle. These are dudes that would be boxing in the alleyways for free. You know, watch, I don't know, I don't want to offend any Brits, but being raised in America, there was a great football movie called The Green Street Hooligans. And that movie, when I was a kid, highlighted the fact that each soccer team in the UK has a clan, and part of their tradition would be meet up on the train stations and just bare knuckle fight for your soccer team. So this is akin to these boxers and their styles. These guys fight. You watch Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn. That was a bloodbath. That was actually tough to watch, man. I like both guys, and during the 10th, 11th round, I'm watching that fight like this. Because I'm just seeing like, I grew up in the sport. I coach still, I'm a nerd of the game. And you're just seeing kind of like months and years of a career kind of washing away, in my opinion. I think Conor lost a lot. Conor lost a lot more than a fight in that match. I mean, he took a lot of damage, and so did Eubank. I'm glad both guys are 100% now. But anyway, moving forward, I like... So let's add up real quick before we get to the method of victories. If you take Martinez, Lubin, Navarrete, Cacace, and Martinez on a parlay, all money line. I'm not risking a lot. I'm not telling you guys, changing the world with my picks here, but I do know some of you guys are taking Holmes. Some of you guys are taking Suarez. Some of you guys are taking Woods. So these aren't locks, but if you take mine, it's 4-1. So the odds aren't crazy. Maybe put $100 on it. You get your money back plus 300. Here's the method of victory, guys, on each one. And I've added those on the ticket, and I'll give you the odds there as well. Cacace only has 4 stoppages, but the reason he's fighting Woods coming off 18-month layoff, and Woods is moving up, and he's getting more money than he would be fighting Sugar Nunez. I'm in Brizzy Sports Bet. Keeps changing stuff. I was good at making live bets and cashing out prop bets. Then sports bets stopped letting you cash out prop bets. Yeah, I know. They screwed me on they let me do on the NBA last night. I took New York at a 5-1, but then I had Denver on the same one at 5-1. And then after I saw New York win at the buzzer, they let me cash out. And then thank God, because Denver got beat by like 50 points. Woods has a questionable chin. It's very possible for Cacace to knock out Wood. All right, guys, let's get to that. So starting Murataya, if you want more odds, if you like Raymond, and you don't like the $1.20 money line, this guy, he has a lot of knockouts on his record. I'm taking on this I have three betting tickets. My money line parlay. This is my second ticket, guys, method of victory, and then my third ticket in my locks. Okay, so pick number 1 on my method of victory. I'm taking Murataya by stoppage, $1.81. I like him stopping the Russian. I think the Russian has slowed down a lot. I think he gets hit a lot. And I think Murataya wants a huge fight. He's going to have something to prove. I like him by stoppage at 181. Erickson, Lubin. Now, Lubin, 18 knockouts, even though we haven't seen him in 18 months, and he's fighting an undefeated guy, Andrew Holmes. They do have history. There's a lot of vitriol on this fight. If you'd have watched the media a couple weeks ago, they got into a pushing match. It seemed like it was pretty legit. I like Lubin by stoppage. 295. The thing is, if you like Lubin and you want to go either way, the Lubin decision's 240, Lubin stoppage is 295, and Lubin money line's 138. So the betting money is kind of torn on that method of victory. People are saying even though he has a 70% career knockout to win ratio, they see him getting a decision. Maybe that just goes to show you how tough Holmes is, or maybe people are kind of getting honey-dicked by Holmes' undefeated record. I'm taking Lubin to stop Holmes, plus 295. Method of victory for Navarrete, he's $1.22 on the money line. You take him to stop. He has an 82% career knockout to win ratio. This pick isn't going to be super popular with the community, but I'm taking Navarrete to stop the Filipino fighter at plus 188. If you like him on your method of victories to stop, his decision bet is 320. This guy doesn't really go out to win decisions. I just think his style and the problems, Suarez, it's going to be too much for the Filipino. 36 years old, 18-0, really doesn't. A lot of those 18 fights have happened in the last few years. Navarrete plus 188. Cacace, money line 157. I know some of you guys just mentioned for him to stop Lee Wood. I just think unless Lee Wood is knocked out cold, I don't see him getting stopped in his hometown. And that does play a role in my pick here. I don't see him beating Cacace. So I'm really excited about Cacace by decision, 240. It moves the odds from the money line from 57 to 240. Now, it could easily go the other way, but because I'm sticking to my guns and I took Cacace to the money line, I don't see him stopping him. I like the plus 240. And the last one in Japan, I'm taking Martinez. I think we're going to hear and still. I like the decision. I don't see Ioka getting stopped in his hometown anytime soon. He does have 3 losses, but he's never been stopped. And we know Martinez is undefeated. So if you take those five method of victory bets, Murataya 181 to win by stoppage, Lubin 295 to win by stoppage, Navarrete by stoppage 188, Cacace by decision 240, and Martinez by decision 175. Put your hands together. That's 42 to 1. I hit one of these 4 weeks ago. So hopefully we get some action. You put $10 on that, you win 420. You know? So it's worth a shot. $50 gets you over 2,000. I love that. And the last thing I'm going to get to, let me answer some of these questions. Woods has a questionable chin. Navarrete going to knock him out. I told you I love that bet. Cacace has more power than you think, especially for a guy who hasn't fought in almost 2 years. Wilmer Ramirez, what do you think? No, Cacace isn't coming off that long of a layoff. What do you think about round robin in a tournament style? It's tough to do with boxing considering, or is that a betting app? Wilmer, I'm not quite sure what you're asking me there. Cacace over 10.5. I love that bet. Suarez over 10.5. Odds are 172. Can't beat that at all. Can't argue with that. Now, with your Suarez over 10.5, does he need to win that, or is that the whole fight? Teofimo said, what? We're getting there. Toxic gameplays. We're almost there. And Cigar, my bad. I meant Woods. Yeah. I got you, brother. I got you. Guys, like this video. If you're tuning in, if you find value in the channel, like the video. If you learn anything from my videos, like the video. You guys know that I do my best to come from an educated approach. I really appreciate the people who tune in, subscribe, because I learn a lot through you guys. And if you go to other boxing pages comment section, you can pretty much judge a channel by who's commenting. And in our comment section, you guys hold it down. So thank you. All right, locks of the week. This is something that I'm not taking too many risks here. Locks of the week mean that gun to your head, awful analogy, will these 3 fights win? Now, 2 of the 3 guys I didn't cover. So if you go to your betting app, they're on your betting app. 2 of the fights you guys wanted me to cover, I just didn't have time. Lock bet number 1 at 154 pounds. You got undefeated knockout artist Cacace. He's fighting Cruz. Cruz is 11-0. Cacace is 15-0. It's at 154 pounds. I think Cacace is going to fight for world titles soon. I like him on the money line at a 124. So if you put Cacace on a ticket at 124, Nick Flaz is fighting Sanchez. People love Nick Flaz. He's not undefeated, but he has a fun style to watch. For him to win, $1.25. So you got the $1.24, the $1.25, and what the other lock of the week that I covered is Murataya. I think if you put Murataya, Nick Flaz, and Cacace all on the same ticket, 3 money lines, it's $1.75, and that's what I've learned through Muscle Brown so far. If you got 10 grand to throw on $1.75, you know you're getting 7,500 back plus your money, and all that has to happen is Nick Flaz, Cacace, and Murataya has to win, and I see that happening. So if all you big bettors out there, I'm pretty comfortable with those 3. And that takes us to the end. We've covered the money line, we've covered the method, and we covered the lock of the week. Now it's up to you guys in the comment section below. Let's talk about whatever you want. I know that I went one of the videos last night. I was writing, so I'm working on this 3rd book based off of interviews that I've done. So in this 3rd book, my first 2 books are published. You can pick those up at all bookstores, wherever you live. But this 3rd one, I interviewed before he passed Larry Holmes. I interviewed before he passed away George Foreman's in this book. Larry Holmes is in this book. Evander Holyfield's in this book. Ray Mancini, Kelly Pavlik, Layla Ali is in this book. So it's 10 interviews I did, and I'm a strength and conditioning coach, so I wrap it around what the fans and what the average person like myself can learn from the lessons from these fighters. So as I'm working on that, I get a notification about Teofimo Lopez, and I go to his Twitter, and I'm like, this dude is crazy. And so I do the short. If you guys haven't seen it, some of you guys have commented about it. He literally drops the N-bomb twice. His pops is hyping him up while he's in the heavy bag, and he calls Bud Crawford a bum. In other words, pretty explicit about the language they were using. And I just did a short about it. Teo called Bud the N-word twice. And so it was interesting to see that people defending Teofimo Lopez's actions. I wasn't. I've seen him I used to be a big fan of Teo, man. But I like to look at athletes. I like to look at anybody that if we find admiration in whether they're writers, athletes, scientists, I always ask myself, would this be a person that I would want my son to look up to? And unfortunately, over the last few years, just the way he acts, I can't say that about Teo, man. There's ways to sell fights. There's ways to carry yourself as a fighter. And there's ways not to sort of treat the art. You know, he's physically gifted, athletically gifted, genetically gifted. It's just that I think he should, you know, and I'm not trying to sound like a Karen or anything, but calling another fighter a racial discriminatory term, in my opinion, is uncalled for. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, do your own research, look into that. Entire fight over 10, him in person and Teo just shrank. I know. I put that short up too. What was that, like 2 months ago? But they were in a fight and Bud comes up and made him go live. Would you say? And Teo shrunk. Of course he would. Teo wants the attention. He's coming off edgy teenage. Yeah. Yeah, but dropping it. I mean, maybe I'm old. You know how old I am, guys. I'm in my 40s. Where I come from, Northeast Ohio, you know, I always tell people my formative years of life. You know, I left Ohio when I was 18. You know, I played minor league. I was a baseball player, played in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, lived in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That took me to Long Beach, California, then Las Vegas, Nevada, and now I live in Australia. But my first 18 years of life, I was from a steel town in Northeast Ohio. There was no racism because everybody was like, there was no wealthy and no poor. We were all broke, Youngstown, Ohio. So I didn't see real racism until I moved to LA, which was crazy. And, you know, real, like, people really hating people based off of the color of their skin. And by the time I saw that, it's one of the things I don't hold. I don't hold any space for that. If you're in my life and you act that sort of way, I'm going to speak up about it. And I'm more than anything with Lopez and his actions. I'm just disappointed because at one time this was a kid I used to look, you know, watch his training. You see how he fights, and there's a lot to like. But, you know, I don't know if it's his father. I don't know if it's people giving him bad advice. But you don't get fights by dropping racial slurs. And, you know, we don't have to speak too much more about that. Hey, bartender, I have some top shelf. There's toxic. Isn't that some Hennessy or some VSOP or some Cavassier, whichever one we're looking for? Crawford is coming to Australia at the end of May, apparently for a holiday with his family. I reached out to him, Kristen. Yeah, end of May. Yeah, he's actually going to Bondi Boxing Gym. So Bondi Boxing Gym is actually in Alexandria. I used to manage a girl fighter named Lynn Sandstrom. So I managed Lynn for 3 fights from 2022 to 2023, up until her world title fight. And so we'll see if I messaged him and Bomac. I'd like to get him. I'd like to interview him. We'll see if that takes place. He's going to be busy. Like, Teo, bro, you cap. He is just capping so hard. Like, yeah, okay. Oh, you Kelly. Yeah, Kelly was my Little League catcher, mate. Kelly and I grew up together. He's a personal friend of mine. We used to win baseball tournaments together. Little League baseball in Youngstown, Ohio. Where Muscle at? Muscle's nowhere to be found. Hopefully he's okay. The antics are uncalled for. His skill is so good that he doesn't need to do it. That's toxic gameplays. That's it. You just said exactly the whole point. Your skills are so good, you don't need to act that way. The door thing with boots too, bro. 100%. And why? Cool. I trained at Fortitude Boxing, the gym of the guy Cambosis just fought. Yeah, Jake Wiley. Jake Wiley's a stud, man. There's a lot of great fighters in Australia. I always tell people, because Australia is so isolated, a lot of times if these guys even get an opportunity to go overseas, they got a lot of miles on them. So other than the UK, I love watching domestic Aussie fights. We got one Wednesday night, Sam Goodman. Goodman's fighting Wednesday night, guys, in Australia. It'll be Tuesday in America. Fingers crossed I get to cover that fight. We'll see if I have time. Thank you for the analysis and picks. High interest. I appreciate you. Pacquiao out of retirement again. What do you guys think? Great call. What do you guys think about Pacquiao versus Barrios? Tim Zoo and Seb on the same card. Like, I'm a hopeless romantic when it comes to boxing. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm going to want Barrios to win. You know, I want to see the old man. And I wasn't a Pacquiao fan in the prime of his career. It's not like I cheered for Manny. You know, growing up, like I said, I grew up with Kelly Pavlik. I followed Kelly's entire career. I was at the Jermaine Taylor fight in Atlantic City. I was at the Max Zertuche fight ringside in Disneyland in Anaheim. Zertuche rode into that fight on a horse. Kelly knocked him out in the ninth round. Cold. Google or YouTube that knockout. Zertuche was a slugger, knocks him out cold. The Edson Miranda fight. So I reference that as we're the same age. We're both 43. When Pacquiao was in his prime, I didn't have any other place in my mind to be cheering for any other fighters except Pavlik. And so right now, though, because Pacquiao's an old man, I want to see the old head get it. So, but I don't want to see him fighting. Is this Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul? No. Is this an old guy prostituting his legacy? No. This is still I think Pacquiao's 46. This is a guy who thinks he can win the fight. We saw what happened when he fought Keith. So who are we to tell Pacquiao he can't do something? The guy came from nothing, and look what he's done with his life. So hats off to him. I'll be cheering for him, and I'll be cheering for Barrios too. But Brian Norman Jr., one of my favorite fighters, by the way, was a dude who was big here in the amateurs. I remember I cover Brian on the show all the time. We actually had Norman Jr.'s dad on. Photoshop Brian with a broken nose. Brian went blow for blow, 15 rounds. Tank had to lie about the sparring. I did a feature on Brian Norman Jr. before his last fight, and his dad is so loyal. I don't know if this is a thing with this generation of boxers, but he goes through the comments, and he was going after some of the naysayers in the comment section, and I had to let him know. I was like, hey, mate, this video's cheering for your son. We all picked Brian to win this fight. It was his last fight when he won by knockout. But Norman Sr.'s a very loyal father. It's all you could ask for if that was your pops. But I'm a huge Brian Norman Jr. fan. How does he fare? People are like, Teo versus Boots. No way. I don't want it. Teo's tiny, man. Teofimo Lopez, he's not a broad guy. When he cuts all that weight on TV, he looks, you guys think he's just real tiny. He doesn't have a big frame. And Jaron Ennis is a giant at 47. Come on, people. Dude, boxing fans are so insane to me. What does a fighter have to do for the world to say this is the guy, but still say that this is the guy too? Like, I love Ennis. I love Boots. I love the steps he's taken in his career. 27 years old. Seems like he's been around forever. How he made Stanionis look. A lot of you guys picked Stanionis to win that fight. We won a lot of money on that fight. We not only picked Boots to win, we picked him to win by knockout. So, I'm high on Boots. But Boots versus Teo is a wash, dude. Come on, I don't even think that's a competitive fight. I think you would be looking at a Teofimo Lopez who turns into a mover when he's in the ring with Boots. That's real. His length, his size, his power, his unorthodox switching stances. Come on. I think Teo, I don't think he could hold a candle to Boots Ennis, and that's just my opinion. Brian had freaking steel abs, bro. None of us in Atlanta could hurt him to the body. Dude, Brian Norman Jr. is a dog. Teo left his power 35. Agree with you. Let me ask this question regarding the gorilla. Which humans will take the first couple of bites and hits with a gorilla? That's a real question. Y'all wild. Why do you think Navarrete will win by knockout? I just think it's that style. I think that he has unorthodox punching angles. We talked about it all week. I think his championship experience, I think that home crowd, I think the energy he brings. I just think the problem in this puzzle, he throws punches at awkward angles, his body work. There's a lot to like about Navarrete beating Suarez by stoppage. Where's Paro? Is there any new? Liam Paro, man, this is what happens. I think he's enjoying his family. I know he's been on a holiday he just got married. That was a tough loss for him. I met two in person. He's bigger than me off that, about 5'7", 147. Pacquiao should have won. I was there to see a boxer from my gym versus Michael Conlon. Love Conlon, talked about that. Bro, that's what I'm saying. Who's got to break? He's the gorilla adult. Johnny, what's your boxing bet of the week? I miss it. Boxing bet of the week, the lock pick of the week. Melron is Katsarakis. Put this on the same ticket. 3 fights. Katsarakis, Nick Flaz, and Raymond Murataya, all money line. It's about 175. Go heavy on it. Put 100 gets you 75 back. I like, with these blocks of the week, I'll use Muscle Brown's logic. 10,000 gets you 7,500 back. Or in his case, 50,000 gets you your money back plus 25K. I bet those Nakatani versus Nishidi odds are going crazy. Johnny, what's your thoughts on Bam versus Cafu? That's a hell of a fight, man. And I do my best, guys, to give love to these divisions. 115, 118, 122. We covered the Fernando versus Ioku. I always cover anyway. Bam Rodriguez. You don't think he would run around the ring from Navarrete? I want to see how Richardson Hitchens against someone like Gary. Love Gary Antoine Russell, 147. But Hitchens is fighting at 40 against George. You know what I mean? So Cambosis, they just did their stare down. They're fighting at 4. They're fighting at 40. Gary Antoine Russell, that is a good fight versus Richardson Hitchens. Gary's one of my favorite fighters to watch. What a good skill set that guy has, and what he looked like in his last fight against, a guy that was a 50-50 fight. I picked Gary Antoine Russell to win that fight. A lot of you guys were coming Rayo, Valenzuela. A lot of you guys took Rayo. I was like, I don't see it. I think Gary Antoine Russell's skill set and him coming off that Alberto Puello loss, I think that was going to be too much, and it proved to be. What's your fight of the year so far? Great question, mate. I mean, I was screaming at the screen with Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn, but in terms of what was at stake in the odds, not Inoue, man, versus Cardenas, dude. That was an insane fight. I took, and I posted my receipts, guys, in the community section. Even though I took Inoue to win, like all you guys did, I did pick Inoue to get knocked down, 15-1, and I hit that. That's a pick I'm most excited about over the last month, is me calling 15-1 Inoue to get dropped once, but still win. I see Suarez flooring Navarrete if the latter gets careless. Anybody could get dropped, guys. This is anybody could get dropped. Cardenas dropped Inoue. Anyone could get dropped. In the third box, you in the 3D boxing Discord, no. But a lot of you guys comment about sometime whenever I disagree with Gary. So I don't do that. I don't disagree with anyone intentionally. I don't watch. I should also let you guys know, I don't watch pretty much anyone's content. The only content I watch on YouTube are the old fights. So when I say I'm doing film study of a Fernando Martinez versus Ioka fight, I'm watching their past fights. I don't know who Southpaw Boxing is. Who's the dude with the big face? You guys tag me in all these guys. I don't know who any of these content creators where you guys are like, you should do a video. I don't watch them. I know a lot of them have way bigger channels than mine, but there'll come a time where I start calling them out because I feel you guys send me clips of these one-sided perspectives. Somebody sent, who's this guy? He has like 150,000 subs, and he just said that Bud Crawford calling out Canelo is a cherry pick. And I'm like, were you saying that 2 years ago? Were you saying that a year ago? All of a sudden, you watch Canelo versus Skull, and now you're going to say that Bud's cherry picking to fight Canelo? It's a famous guy. I'm sure you guys follow him. Broner down bad now, man. I miss it. Me too. I miss AB. Cooked. Did AB put the term cooked in the mainstream, by the way? And then did he also put the term gang gang in the mainstream? Do you remember when Ellerby was at the press conference? And I think it was Leonard Ellerby. And Adrian Broner turns to him, and he goes on that rant about him being on his team, but he's not. AB was pop culture at one time. Who wins in their prime? Wait, Manny at 140? Come on, Anthony. I don't like those questions. Who wins in their prime? We got to see them fight. They weren't in their 40s. We know how that went. Be careful around Southpaw. Bro has no filter. Oh, I don't care about that. I would scrap. That's the thing, too. What I'm thinking of is as my channel grows, because I travel a lot, I wouldn't mind getting in the ring with that dude because somebody sent me his stuff, what he was saying. He trashed one of my boys. If you guys follow Thrill Boxing online, he's a buddy of mine on Instagram, and that Southpaw guy was calling him a bunch of names for sharing Shakur Stevenson's content. And I was like, dude, that's and Thrill is only about 5'7", $130, maybe $125, and I'm 5'11", 180, but I would cut to like 54, and I would definitely get it. I would definitely spar that dude 100. I sparred 30. I just sparred yesterday 10 rounds with a dude at 190. So I'm all about it. He got cooked, bro. Johnny Southpaw legit said GG Bryant died with Kobe. Yeah, that dude's an idiot, man. I don't got time for these people. Rest in peace to both, man. Kobe's a goddamn legend. GG, rest in peace, man. That you just bummed me out. I'm a diehard Cleveland fan, but I'll never forget where I was when I found out Kobe died, man. That comment just bummed me out. Anybody who says that is a fucking asshole. Like, bro, how low can you go? I agree. Most of them guys will crap in their pants if you saw them. Afro Jam. Guys, this is fun. Thanks for tuning in. Like this video. The last thing you do for me today is just like this video. Also, let's get some money. Let's win some money this week. One last thing before I get you out of here. I don't do this for gambling. I don't do my channel to gamble. I don't do my channel to make money. I don't bet on fights to disparage other fighters. I have to say this every week. I only do the fight predictions because you guys asked for it months ago. I only do my bets, picks of the week because you guys asked for it. So all in good fun. When we hit, congrats. But it's always funny to watch how aggressive you guys get when I'm wrong. Remember, my point of difference is I want to educate people, I want to educate myself, and I want to spread the word about who these fighters actually are, laying it on the line for us every week. That is my number one motive, not to gamble, not to win money. I never put myself out there as like the gambling mind on the internet. That's not what I'm doing this for. But this is an outcome of what you guys ask. Keep asking the questions. I'll keep bringing it to you guys. Let's have some fun this weekend. Bro, do some jawline videos. What does a jawline video mean? Espinosa knockout was free lat. Damn, how fun is Rafa to watch. What is a jawline video? How think the Cavs could come back? Now you're speaking my language. Of course I think they could come back, man. But we're down 3. Dude, you got Hunter. Now I'm going to go on a rant. You guys know I'm not just boxing. I played American football my whole life, basketball. So I played American football, basketball, baseball, and boxing from the time I was 7 until I was 18. Something you don't know about me. At 15, I got knocked out in boxing. Alvin Jennings, I was 15, hadn't gone through puberty yet. I got all the excuses. I didn't get knocked out. I got stopped. And my parents never let me box again as a teenager. So I was still playing baseball, football, and basketball. I played shooting guard in high school, played from the time I was 7 to 18. I played quarterback in high school, and then I played baseball in college. Diehard Cleveland sports fan. Answer about the Cavs. You can't win playoff basketball when you're out. The defensive player of the year, Mobley's hurt. When Darius Garland is hurt and Hunter, our swingman, is out. So for them, you know, dropping those 2 games at home, same with Boston. I don't think Boston's dead in the water, even though I'm not a fan of Boston, not a fan of New York. I only got one team, the Cavs. I think Cleveland's going to go to Indy. They're going to get 2 games. I think we're going to get healthy, and we're going to go to the Eastern Conference Finals. We'll see. Bro, you got a damn jaw like, thanks, playa. Do you think Devin Haney looked kind of trauma-filled? Toxic. You know what? He looked trauma-filled the first 2 to 3 rounds. He looked hesitant the first 2 to 3 rounds. You know what I'm saying? He looked like a guy. What Devin looked like to me, I don't know if you guys grew up around like bodies of like a pond or a lake, but in Ohio, we had this sort of pond and a lake, and throughout the year, it would dry out, and then it would fill up because it would snow, and the snow would melt. And once a year, we'd have to get a stick to see how deep the hole was. And I always use that analogy with fighters if they're coming off a knockout loss or something like Dev. It looked like those first few rounds with all of his movement, he was figuring out how deep the water was. Also, the announcers did a terrible job on describing Devin's game plan. We talked about on the channel, he was getting coached by Nate Johnson. Nate is a 96 Olympian, won the bronze medal. He's a heavyweight, and Nate was Floyd's coach. You bring Nate in to lock up your defense. So early on, he was moving laterally, but you could see that was part of his game plan. And it wasn't until the 4th round, one of the announcers were like, oh, maybe this is part of his game plan. So it's like, what do you expect the kid? You know, goes from never losing to, on an international stage, get embarrassed by his biggest rival the way he did, get dropped a few times, and then his rival tests for gear, and then he's off for a year. And what do you expect from him? I thought he did good. You know, in the exchanges with his hand speed, his speed looked good. I mean, I don't understand the hate with Devin Haney. You can say what you want about the pops. You can say what you want about the political side of things. But I judge these guys what I see in the ring. There's a lot to like about a 26-year-old kid like Devin Haney. I understand why he gets the negative stuff. I don't like his, you know, I'm like an old father. When I watch him post on Instagram, he's posting his money and his house and his cars. I think to myself, man, I don't like that side of things. You know, I'm old school, dude. I grew up in a boxing, I like road work, jumping work. I like powerlifting. I like hitting the bag. I like sparring. That's the stuff I like. So I understand the hate he gets, but in the ring, man, I think the announcers have to do a better job. And I think that the good news is for him at 26, the best way to prove people wrong is what? Keep winning fights. So it's going to be up to him. You know, we're the fans. We get to talk about who we like and what we dislike. But at the end of the day, it's the fighters who get to create their legacy. And we'll see. Time will tell. Bro, Antonio Tarver commentary, he was awful. But let's not give old boy a pass. Our boy who retired, who came out of, who I used to love. For me to even forget his name is hilarious because I was so pissing him. He did terrible. Stan, you have a nice jawline, guys. No, did he? Hey. Seaver Warner, bro, I sparred a guy on steroids from Miami Gym, and that motherfucker almost gave me PTSD. I sparred him months later, and he was weak as fuck. Devin has to get... Love your point. True story. I know when Devin saw Ryan get beat, it was like my first time watching Star Wars. 100%. Jim Lampley. Guys, one of my most viewed that I watch on YouTube is this 2005 boxing, HBO boxing, with Jim Lampley narrating the trilogy of Arturo Gatti versus Mickey Ward. It's one of my favorite things to just watch. When I have a new client, maybe they work in the corporate world here in Sydney and they want to learn the fundamentals of boxing. And then they'll get to the stage where like, Johnny, what should I watch? I send them this hour-long sort of documentary with Jim Lampley narrating it. He does a perfect job. So I hold Lampley here. What I saw and heard from him in Times Square, it's like, bro, you should have stayed retired. I'd like to ask him, did he get given those directions to bash fighters? Because I don't ever remember him being so one-sided. Eubank Jr. can't wait for the rematch. That's going to be a proper fight. Do you think they're going to rematch, though? Do we want to see Eubank Jr. and Ben again? We have to remember Ben came up a couple weight classes. That's why I kind of had my eyes like this watching it, because in my head, we know if you guys, a lot of you guys spar, a lot of you guys have hit bags before. Weight classes matter, even though they cut a lot of weight. And both guys, Eubank Jr. looks so drained. So all those headshots, I don't know, man. I think I see why we want to see the rematch. With no belts on the line, I think Conor should go after legit world titles. I do. And Eubank's already 35, maybe 36. I don't know if he has too much to prove either. So, but that's just my opinion. I'm not right on these things. Was out of tune. The Batmobile was crazy, 100%. I love Raleigh's shoes too. Raleigh's Back to the Future shoes. The announcers didn't even mention it. I was like, what are you talking about? This is it. I think politics was crazy. True. I think Eubank being weight trained saved the fight. They are contracted the rematch. Cool. I did not know that. They should really take the rehydration out. I agree with you. I don't know if Conor can make 47 again after fighting at 60. That's a great point. Did he come at 60? Did he weigh in about 157, 158? Raleigh versus Eubank. Raleigh versus Eubanks. Raleigh just had his first fight at 47. Eubanks fought Conor at 60. I don't know if you maybe Raleigh versus Ben. You mean? Conor made Skull quit. Well, you know what? Ollie Penfold, when we heard those rumors, I didn't believe it. And then after watching, we heard those rumors like a month or so ago. And then after watching Conor, we always knew Conor had a dog. I always referenced the Chris Algieri fight. Just watch him train. If you watch my channel enough, every now and then, about once a month, I'll share a short of Conor hitting the bag, and I do the narration. I go, this is a picture of Conor Bennett fight camp. He's one of my favorite guys to hit the bag. He's so aggressive, dude. The dude fights with such an anger, which is so contrasted to like when I spar, when I box, when I train, I'm smiling. And my dad used to hate it. I guess it's within us, however we want to choose to fight. But Conor fights total opposite of like how, and that's why I like him. He fights so angry. He's like a mini Mike Tyson, how angry he fights. It's fun to watch. Raleigh will get cooked by Ennis. Yeah, come on now. Ben, my bad. I feel you, Steve. I knew that's who you were talking about, bro. I fell asleep in the Skull fight round 6. The best part of the Skull fight, guys, was Skull's golden shoes. And every time he was circling left and circling right, you could see gold flakes falling on the canvas. I swear that was the best part of that fight. Ben versus Boachuk, dude. So are we saying Ben fights at 54 from here on out? I think he could still make 47. It's crazy how Conor Ben fights. Like, that's what I'm saying. Conor Ben fights like he's poor, right? That, I guess, without being controversial. Conor Ben, or he fights like a rich kid who has something to prove. But I see a kid, he fights like he's in the streets trying to make a living for himself. It's a great point. That chip on his shoulder, I love that chip on his shoulder. Tank is so short in person. 5'5". He's 5'5". He's an exact duplicate of his dad, but just without the ability not to be rude. Yeah, his dad is a legend. Not a disrespectful thing. No, you're 100%. The Pops was a legend. Guys, think about, I once had a baseball coach tell me that the fathers, and this isn't always true. We were talking about fathers who have sons who play professional sports, but it's always like a lot of times the son, sometimes it's the opposite. Like Brian Norman Jr. has a better career than his dad in boxing, but in this case, Conor Ben isn't going to go down like Nigel. But my coach said that imagine a copy machine, like I'm old. We used to have to go to Kinko's to get copies of our homework or our notes. And if you make 100 copies of the main copy, that 100th copy is going to be a little bit faded. And my coach used to say that's kind of like when, in terms of genetics and skills, normally the son will be a little bit faded than the Pops at the highest level. Not always the case. Sometimes it's the case. He's an exact duplicate of his dad. Ben's versus Boots. Fedora is inconsistent in his performance. Copy machine, Steve. Guys, I got to go. I got a client in 3 minutes. You guys are awesome. Like this video. Stay tuned to the channel. Watch all the videos this week. And in the comment section below, let me know if we won. I got to run. The only sons I've seen better than father, but Corey Spinks.